Hiya 5, so this is lesson 4 and lesson 5. We commence in the 1st of June, English. So, last lesson you wrote a couple of paragraphs for me, basically practicing shifting in time. So you started your story with a climactic event from one of your favourite books. That, could be the Roman Quest, it could have been the Tornado Chasers. And then you went back in time. So your first paragraph was an event from the future, like a climactic event from the future, and then your second paragraph was going back in time to build up, okay, to that event that you started with. So practicing shifting things around. So lesson 4 and 5, again, I managed shifts in time and place effectively to guide the reader through my text. Lesson 4 and 5, to learn how to do a shift in time. So we're building on from last lesson, learning to how to do a shift in time in story writing. So, okay, I'm going to read through this. Right, so we're thinking about the Tornado Chaser story beginning. Okay, so it begins in the present. Okay, it unfolds. It doesn't go back to the past straight away. If you think about it that way. Chapter 2 takes us back to the past, to the very beginning. Chapter 1 doesn't take us back to the very beginning of how the whole thing unfolds. Chapter 1 is from the present, from a moment, from the present, that we then go shift back in time in chapter 2. Okay, so some writers don't start from the very beginning of a story. They start from a series of events that happen in the present. Okay, let's look at time in 3: past, present, future. The past is what's happened in the past. The present is what's something that's happening now, and the future is what's going to happen. Some writers start their stories by events that are happening, it seems, in the moment, in the present. Okay? Like the Tornado Chasers does. It's like a present, something that's happening, not a present you get under the Christmas tree or a birthday present, the present tense, okay? It's like an event that's unfolding before us in the present. Then chapter 2 shifts back to the past and goes back to the very beginning and explains what, events that lead to chapter 1, which is actually unfolds in chapter 11. Think about the Roman Quest story as well. Okay, so the Roman Quest story, how Juba, sorry, I've just knocked that again. Think about the Roman Quest story, how Juba went back to the house after they fled to get the Roman god figures for good luck. He sees a sight, the story tells us, that will haunt him for the rest of his life, but we don't know what it is straight away. Okay, as the story unfolds, he continually gets these flashbacks in the story to that scene that occurred at the very start. And we find out that the scene he saw was his dead parents, but this doesn't happen straight away. As the story unfolds, we see more and more of this, and more about what Juba actually saw when he saw his parents dead, when he went back to the house. And we also have flashbacks to when he gave Dora away, and there's references in the future to what happened in the past when he gave his baby sister Dora away. So the writer uses these shifts in time in the Roman Quest to take us back to an emotional event. I mean, it's really emotional that Juba goes back to the house and sees a sight that will scar him for the rest of his life. That's pulling on the reader's emotions. It's causing the reader to feel really, I suppose, sad for Juba, upset maybe. And then the writer, every time the writer thinks, okay, I want to draw those emotions from the reader again. I want the reader to really become emotionally involved again with that scene. And they bring a flashback. And we go back to that time in the house when Juba saw his dead parents. And something else is revealed in that moment to us. And this happens throughout the story. This reference constantly back to that scene where Juba witnesses his parents dead, okay, in the home. And eventually his older brother Fronto and his younger sister, they discover what's happened to the parents. They don't even know. Juba hides it from them, and all of this unfolds in that story. So that's, again, the writer using shifts in time to create an emotional response in the reader. Okay, the writer in the Roman Quest constantly takes us back to that scene. Throughout the story, we go back to that moment when Juba saw his parents dead in the house. We go back to the moment when Juba gave his baby sister away. Because the writer wants to pull on our emotions and really connect, really wants us to connect emotionally with the story. So in your story writing, you need to be doing things like this. You need to find a key event in your story, a real emotional event. We've talked about creating atmosphere, haven't we? So create an atmosphere, either a dramatic atmosphere, a sad atmosphere, a tragic atmosphere, a happy atmosphere, but create a really powerful, dramatic atmosphere that's going to really pull on the emotions of the reader, at some point in your story, and take the reader back to it now and again and reveal more about it in stages throughout your story, shifting back to that event, okay, to create that emotional response from the reader and more of the story unfolds as a result, okay? So, lesson 4 and 5, this is your main task. I want you, okay, to find an example in a story that you like. It could be the Roman Quest, it could be the Tornado Chasers. We've done a few stories in class. The Viking Boy we did as well. Find an example. No, we didn't do the Viking Boy this year. That was last year. Sorry, my mistake. That was last year, not this year. We've done the Tornado Chasers. What did we do in the autumn term? We would have done probably a traditional Japanese or Chinese tale, probably a traditional Chinese tale when we did our shadow puppets. We may have done one then, but mainly just stick to the main ones that we've done so far. We've done the Tornado Chasers and we've done the Roman Quests, haven't we? So stick to those two, or you could choose a story of your own, okay? The story that you like reading at home, one that one you've done in school in the past, okay? So think about like a dramatic scene from a story that really pulled at your emotions as you read it. So, you read a story and it really affected you emotionally. And either, you felt sad for that character or you felt excited. Use that and do a retell of it. Okay, and throughout your little story, take us back to that event. So flash back to it and unfold more of that, okay, to really pull the reader in. So find an example in the story you like where the writer goes back and forward in time, okay? Ask yourself why the writer's done that. Retell a story in your own words, shifting back and forward in time, using that dramatic event, okay, and causing the storyline to unfold gradually. Then proofread your story and correct it. I'm not really worried about how long the story is. It doesn't have to. It can be one page. It's just, it doesn't need to be a long story. It could be a short story, but you need to practice going back and forth in time, having flashbacks maybe a couple of times in your story, at least 2 flashbacks to an event, okay, that is unfolding. All right, to have a go at writing a story and maybe begin your story with a dramatic event that will unfold, in the middle of your story. So maybe start with a dramatic event, then go back in time with your next paragraph, then go back to the events and tell us what really happened, and then conclude. Something like that. So you're practicing shifting back and forth in time to enable the story to unfold and the reader to really be emotionally drawn in to the story. Okay? Right, that's the end for this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.